Okay, so today we're looking at finding rules for number patterns. So this work is a little bit tricky, but you've just got to practice it and make sure that it goes through the methods that I tell you, and it'll be a lot easier for you. So in this question it says find the formula for the nth term, which they've called t, of the number pattern -1, -3, -5, -7, etc. And this one's multiple choice, so they've given you 4 options and you've got to work out which one's correct. Okay, so when we do this sort of work, we're looking at the position of the term, so the nth term. So we're looking at, did you come first in the race, second in the race, third in the race, fourth in the race, 10th in the race? Or in this case, first in the number pattern, second in the number pattern, third, fourth, etc. So what we're going to do is take those things and put them into a table. So the n is the actual position of, because it's nth, right? So it's the position of the number in the number pattern. So what we're doing is starting with a table here. We're going to have n up the top for the position, and then t down the bottom, which is actually working out the actual value of the term. So the actual number. So these things up here are your terms or the value of the number in the term. Okay, so that's where they come from. So we have -1, -3, -5, -7. They're our terms. And we're finding a formula for t. When we have a formula, it's going to be t equals, and it's always the bottom letter that goes at the beginning of your formula. Now at the top we have n, which is the position of the term. So we have 1, 2, 3 and 4. So we'll just fill those in. So in other words, our first term is -1, our second term is -3, our third term is -5, and our fourth term is -7. Now because this is multiple choice, we're going to just check the answers and see which one works. So if we check A, we're checking t equals n-2 to see if that's correct. So if we take n equals 1, the first n value in the box up here, write the formula down that we think it might be, t equals n-2, and sub in 1 for n in your formula. Then work out 1 - 2 on your calculator and you'll get -1. Now that at the moment looks like it's fine, but you can't just go, oh, I'll just check 1 and see if it works and that's it. You've got to check the next one and see what's going on. So we're going to take n equals 2, put it in our little formula that we're checking. So in place of n this time, we're going to put 2. Then we're going to put that in the calculator and we get 0. Now this first one turned out correct because that was -1. But this next one is supposed to be -3 and it worked out to be 0. So that's wrong then. This formula is not working all the time, so it's not A. So we can cross that one off. So now we're going to check B, this formula, t equals 1 - 2n. So we're going to take out n equals 1 again, write down the formula, t equals 1 - 2n, and don't forget between the number and the letter we have a times sign. So now we're going to sub in, so we've got t equals 1 - 2 times, and in place of n we're writing 1. Put that in your calculator, 1 - 2 times 1 equals, it gives you -1. Yes, we're supposed to have a -1, so that looks okay. Let's look at the next one. We're going to take n equals 2 and put it into the same formula for B. T equals 1 - 2 times n. So it's t equals 1 - 2 times, we're putting 2n for n this time, and if you use your calculator and do 1 - 2 times 2, you'll get -3. And that works out to be right this time, so let's keep checking. We'll take n equals 3 and put it into our formula. Don't forget we have the times sign here. So we're going to put in 1 - 2 times, and in place of n we're going to write 3 this time. Now use your calculator, 1 - 2 times 3 equals -5. And that's correct, it's supposed to be -5. So we'll keep checking and we'll do the last one. n equals 4. If it works for the first 3, it'll probably work for the last one, but we'll double check. Put the times in there, and 1 minus 2 times this time in is 4. Put all of that in your calculator and you will get -7. So it worked for all of them, so that means B was right. So this is your answer, B, because it worked out correct for all of them. All right, so we're just going to move over and have a look at these other ones. All right, so in this second question here, it says for each number pattern, you've got 3 parts to do. All right, so here's our first number pattern, 8, 10, 12, 14, etc. So the first part says find the 8th term. Now you can do that just by knowing number patterns. So we could give this to a primary school and they could do it. So we've got 8, that's our first term, second, third, fourth. Now if we continue with the pattern that's going on here, we'll work out this 8th one ourselves without anything else to happen. It's not that hard. So we have 8, 10, 12, 14, up to our 4th term. So next one we're going to be adding 2, aren't we? So 16, 18, 20, 22. That's our 8th term. So 22 will be our 8th term. And we can write that down, 8th term equals 22. All right, the next part says, now this is where we're up to finding a formula for the nth term, which we're calling t. So we're going to set this up the way we did before. So we've got a table. Up the top we have n for the position of the term, and down the bottom we have t for the actual value of the term. All right, so we're going to start, we've got 4 terms here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, meaning first, second, third and fourth. Then we have the first term is 8, second term is 10, third term is 12, and the fourth term is 14. So we've completed our table. So now if we keep looking at it from there, remember when we do formulas, we're going to try and see what we've done to the top number to get the bottom number. So let's draw in the arrows here. Now, this question I've written is hard. It's a bit tricky, right? So if we look down here at the end, what have we done to 4 to get 14? We know we're getting a bigger number, so we're going to be multiplying somehow, but we might be adding as well, or we might be subtracting. So let's see what we might be doing. Well, if we look at what something that would give us, if we multiply by something to get something a bit under the 14, we could be multiplying by 3. 4 times 3 gives me 12, so then I would have to add 2 on. So I might be doing that. Let's just see if it works here. 3 times 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11. No, it doesn't work there, so that one's wrong. I'll cross that one out. Now let's try something different. So multiplying by 3 and adding 2 didn't work. What if we times by something to get something a bit bigger than 14? So 4 times 3 was 12. Why don't we do 4 times 4? So if we do 4 times 4, that will give me 16, and I'll have to take away 2 to get 14. Now let's see if that works for the others. 3 times 4 is 12. Take away 2 is 10. No, it doesn't work, so that one's out as well. Now they're normally the first 2 that I would try, getting a number that's multiplying that goes just under the 14 and multiplying by something that goes just over the 14. But sometimes it might be harder than that. So in this case, neither of them worked. Most of the time, one of those will work. So let's try something else. What can we multiply by? Okay, well let's go down lower than the 3 and try 2. Okay, 4 times 2 gives me 8. I would have to add 6 to get 14. Now let's see if that works with the next one. So if I do 3 times 2, that gives me 6. Add 6, that gives me 12. Yes, that's working. Let's try it on the next one. We start with 2. Times by 2 gives me 4. Add 6 gives me 10. Yes, that's working. Try the other one. Start with 1. Times 2 gives me 2. Plus 6 gives me 8. Yes, that's worked all the way through that one. So that's going to be what we're doing. So we're going to write t equals, because that's what we always start with the bottom letter. So we take the n value, times by 2, and add 6. Now we should tidy that up and make it in short notation. So if we just write that out again, it's t equals n times 2 is just 2n. So we write 2n plus 6. Okay, so that's the answer that we want for our formula. So in part 3 it says use the formula. So we're going to write our formula down. And now we're going to do what they've said. Find the 20th term. Well, the 20th term means that in that spot there we're going to write a 20. Because the 20th term means the position of the term n is 20. So we'll write in everything else. Don't forget we have the times here. So we've got 2 times 20 plus 6. Use your calculator and you'll get 46 for our 20th term. Okay, so we're going to go through that whole process with B and see how we go with that one. So this time we're doing the 8th term. So remember, this is your first, this is your second, this is your third. We're going to continue with our pattern till our 8th, like you did in primary school. So let's see, we've got our first term we already have, that's 8. Sorry, first term is 7, second term is 15, third term is 23. We're adding 8 each time. So if we add another 8, we're going to get 31, that's our fourth term. Add 8, 39, add 8, 47, add 8, 55, add 8, 63 is our 8th term. Now, of course, you can use your calculator to continue to add those 8s on rather than risk making a mistake on it. All right, so part 2. I'm going to put these things in our table. N is our position, so first, second, third, 1, 2, 3. And then the actual terms, 7 for the first term, 15 for the second one, and 23 for the third one. And now we're doing part 2. We're trying to find our formula. So we're looking from the top line to the bottom line. We have to decide what we're doing, and it's got to be the same each time. So let's look over here at the 3. So let's multiply to something under the 23. So if we do 3 times 7, I'll just move it up in case I'm wrong here. If I do 3 times 7, that will get me 21. I would have to add 2 to get 23. Let's see if it works on the next one. 2 times 7, 14, plus 2, 16. No, it's not working, so we'll get rid of that one. All right, let's multiply to something that's a bit bigger than 23. So 3 times 8, that will give me 24 minus 1. That will give me 23. So let's check it on the next one. 2 times 8 is 16, minus 1 is 15. Yes, it's working. Let's try the next one. 1 times 8 is 8, minus 1 is 7. Yes, that one is working on everything. So we can write down what we're doing for our rule. You start with your bottom letter, T equals. Now we're taking our n number and we're timesing by 8 and minusing 1. And don't forget, after you do that, you're going to try and simplify this a little bit. So n times 8 will become 8n. So it's t equals 8n minus 1. And there's your formula. All right, now in part 3, it says use the formula. Okay, well, our formula was this, so let's write it down. And let's put a times between that 8 and the n. Now, use it to find the 20th term. So 20th, the 20 is the position of the term, so that's going to go in that spot there. So we want the 20 to go in there, and now we're going to put the rest of it in. Now you're going to use your calculator. 8 times 20 minus 1 will give you 159. Okay, now this last one is a bit different. Sorry, I'll just move this over so I can see it better. So yes, this last question is a little bit different because the numbers are 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. They're the terms. So I've written them down the bottom there. The position of the term n, this is our first term, our second, our third, our fourth, and our fifth. So there's our table. Now, we're looking at what we're doing to go from the top to the bottom line. Now, some of you might be looking at that and going, I know what that is straight away. So if you're doing that, it's going really well because it's very different to the other ones. And a lot of the boys in the top class will probably get this out. So if you think you can get it, then you're putting yourself up there with them. So I want you to think about this a little bit differently because nothing we can try here will work. So here, to get to 25, it looks like I'm timesing by 5. But 4 times 5 doesn't give me 16, so it's not working to do that. If I add 20, I would get 25, but 4 plus 20 is not giving me 16. So we're in a bit of a mess here. Unless you recognise these numbers, 1, 4, 9, 16, 25. Now, eventually you're going to have to be good at those sort of numbers if you're going to be in the top classes. So if that looks very familiar to you, that's great. But I'll tell you what it is. What we're actually doing is squaring the top number. So if I do 5 squared, I get 25. If I do 4 squared, I get 16. If I do 3 squared, I get 9. If I do 2 squared, I get 4. And if I do 1 squared, I get 1. So remember that squaring is just multiplying the number by itself. Okay, so when I say n squared, I mean the number multiplied by itself. And that's what's happening here. So our formula is just going to be t equals n squared. And now in part 3, we're going to use our formula to find the 20th term. So write your formula down. We're finding the 20th term. So 20 is going in for n. And use your calculator to do 20 squared. Hope you've remembered where that key is on your calculator. And it'll give you 400. Okay, so I'm coming back in the next video to do some more examples on this because it needs practice.